Hello. In this database, we will discuss services, what they are, how to add them, how to view them, and how to attach files to them. Let's begin by double-clicking on our database shortcut. And of course, it takes us to the starting form. Now, in order to add a service, we must have a specific employer we are adding the service to. Just like most of the forms, especially the forms on the command palette, we need to have a specific employer or crew leader that we wish to add them to. So let's open up a specific year profile. We're using our test. And oh look, it's blank and there's nothing there for me to add. Well, that's because you'll notice that I didn't add a year. Instead, I just went directly to the employer in my enthusiasm for MSFW data entry. So I'm going to click Save and Close. Come down here, 2019, and there we are. So, let's say that we've entered the Labor Camp application for AAA test in 2019. That's all to the good. But we want to make sure that the rest of our team, the outreach and inspectors and manager level staff in the MSFW program, don't have to root around in the database information for it. They could find it, yes, if they go in and they check Labor Camp application and they click backwards through all 177 records. Yes, they could find it. But there's an easier way to more clearly communicate with the other members of the MSFW team, and that's going to be through services. So, services here are going to be a chronologically sorted little timeline of stuff that you do. This can be anything from simply notifying the other members of the team that you added a particular form in, which is going to probably be one of the more common things you enter, to if there's a particular case note, effectively, like an asset that you want to add, or if there's like a long phone conversation you had with an employer that you think the rest of the team needs to know about. Just be aware that with one very important exception, services are going to be publicly viewable by the rest of your team. So, if you think it's something we all need to know, just add it in as a service. It only takes a second. So let's click where it says Add Service right up here. And then it brings up the services form. Now there's a lot going on here, but let's break it down a little bit. First of all, once again, if your name is not on the general staff name dropdown, let us know. And of course, by us, I mean anyone who's a supervisor level staff or just the MSFW supervisor, and they will make sure that you are added appropriately to the staff name list. You'll also notice that even though the service date is automatically added as today's date, you can set it to other dates. Forwards in time, backwards in time, doesn't really matter. Although, to be honest, I'm not 1,000,000% sure why you would put a service in the system before it had actually happened. That's a capability that the database has. You'll also notice that employer is already added and visible, but it's grayed out and cannot be edited. That's intentional. Like I said, the only real way that this database is going to function is that if you open a form and it's for a specific employer. So, if you want to add a new service to a different employer, simply close out of the existing year profile and command palette and bring up a year profile and command palette for that particular employer and that particular date in time. Next to talk about is going to be the list of categories. This is a very big list, though it is alphabetically sorted. And this is going to contain everything from names of different forms to particular types of conversation or services, or really anything at all. If there's a particular category that you wish to add, or if you think that a category is unclear and should be edited, tell your supervisor or the MSFW supervisor, and they will make the appropriate changes. And of course, if you are using multiple checkboxes, or really if you're just checking one box at all, you want to click on OK to make sure that that is appropriately verified. Categories are quite important, so make sure that you are accurately entering your category information. And then of course there's going to be the service description. This will also be visible to all members of staff, so be sure that what you are typing is brief, to the point, but very thorough. This isn't just a note for necessarily your own consumption. This is going to be a quick and direct way to make sure everyone who views this profile is up to speed on what's been happening. So, I have added some gibberish, and that's going to be our service description. Then, I want to talk about attachments. Double-clicking on the attachment blank is going to open up a little attachment window. Here, you can click Add to add an attachment from your computer. You can remove an existing attachment once one is added. You can open the basic file once one is added. And you can, and this is essential, save information, whether individually or with Save all at once, to your individual desktop PC. So let's say that we have a physical labor camp application and we wanted to scan it and then share it with the other members of staff. You can do so during the using the S drive if you prefer, but there's a quick and easy way to use the attachments command to embed it directly into the database file and make it visible, shareable, and downloadable to all members of the MSFW program. Simply scan it to your desktop or to your PC, click Add, and then bring up the individual PDF or scan image file and attach it to this form. Once you have it, simply click OK, and it will be visible to everyone. I'm going to cancel out since I don't have anything to attach and bring you to really the last important thing that you're going to want to know, the hidden checkbox. The hidden checkbox is very simple. If it's checked, the service will be entered into the system along with any attachments, pertinent information, categories, date, and staff information, but it will not be added to the services report here. There are very few times you would want to do this, and I really recommend that most of the services you add should be made visible to the rest of the staff, but for example, if a complaint or a parent violation is entered in this particular situation, if a complaint or a service violation is entered for this profile, for this employer, for this crew leader, or really anything else that might require confidentiality, simply select Hidden, click, and of course click Finalize in order to save the service. And it's going to make sure that only management staff and above will be able to access that information. Again, it will still go into the database, and it will still be included in the information for yearly, quarterly, monthly, etc. reporting, but it will not be immediately visible. This is the only time, by the way, it will not be immediately visible to the other members of staff. So we're not going to click Hidden. We've got all of our situation in there. We're going to click Finalize. And nothing happens. Well, that is disappointing. But if we click the Refresh button, it reloads the form with the pertinent information, and we can see the service that was added, who added the service, the first few categories for the service, and some of that good gibberish here that I added in for a service description. Again, this is eventually going to develop into a full case report for everything that is done in 2019 for the AAA test employer. Again, if you do something that you want to make sure is entered into the system, but there's not maybe a form for it, or even if there is a form for it, I still recommend that you add in a service. It is a useful tool for quickly and efficiently communicating with the rest of the team. You'll also notice this square here, that if we double click it, brings up the attachments box, just like it did. Were I to put an attachment on the service, it could be viewed, saved, or simply, well, save all, I guess. But it could be viewed, saved, and downloaded from this particular pop-up window, which again means that sharing files in a secure and efficient fashion just got a whole lot easier. So again, services are for when you want to share information with the rest of the staff while still making sure that there's a permanent record of it. To close out, we'll simply select Save and Close, and then we will save and close out of the starting form.